that we did is right or wrong. I'm just going to tell you how we did it. This was our base. What made us different than probably what you guys do or what other people do in their empty is you probably started in a regular formation and you moved the running back out to make it empty. We started in empty and moved somebody to the backfield. Now, we did not run empty every play, but the base was empty. Like our 8th grade team was in empty. Our 9th grade team was in empty. And then they tagged something to move the backs to the backfield. So that's kind of maybe the opposite of what you guys done before. I think you can either make this part a package of your offense, which I think is what most people do, or you can do the whole thing. We just had such success with this that we continued doing it more as our base. We just started there and moved somebody to the backfield, and you'll see what I mean in a few minutes. This is kind of what I wrote down like maybe 15 years ago and through a bunch of offenses. We ran the wing tee, then we kind of went to a shotgun version of the wing tee, and then we just realized if we could run the sweeps and the stuff out from the wing tee out of empty, and our quarterback to run a little, it was a huge advantage to have that extra guy out there, that 5th receiver, and having all the different guys that could run the ball. So we wanted to be versatile where every year we could be decent with whoever we hit. If we had a good quarterback, we had plays for that. If we had an average quarterback, we had one that could run or one that could throw and one that could do the other one. We had enough stuff in. That's what I loved about the wing tee back when we ran that, is I thought you had enough positions with really 4 running backs and 5 receivers at the same time, depending on how you play those positions. We got our quarterback, both of our wings and our Z all can run the ball. We got all 5 guys that can catch the ball. We'll find some plays that work for all. And I thought it was important to dictate the tempo. Now that's not any earth-shattering statement there. But back 15 years ago it was. And we wanted to play fast and wanted to play slow and everything in between. And I'll tell you how we do that as we go into that. We want to be physical because one of the knocks on being an empty or being in any kind of spread offense is not physical. And we wanted to be physical. We had to wear them down as the game went on, and you had to find ways to wear people down. Sometimes changing the tempo is one of those ways. And we want an offense that made people play the whole field. Again, one of the things I loved about the wing tee in general, especially when we went to the gun, was you had to defend both sides. You had to defend vertical. So we're going to run the sideline to sideline. We're going to throw it sideline to sideline, and we're going to throw it down the field and make people defend the whole field. All this sounds very vanilla to what everybody else is saying now. You just had to trust me. Coach Ford can attest, maybe Coach Page, that it was earth-shattering. But I have stayed to this. So why did we run in? Here's what happened. I was the head coach, so I'm watching the defense, and for 5 or 6 years in a row, it felt like we saw empty 10 plays a year, 20 plays a year. This is going back 5, 6, 7 years. And, we say, man, every time we get it, we had to sit a whole week talking about it and working on it and what everybody was going to do if number 3 went out, if number 3 went vertical. We had all this crap we had to do for those 20 plays. And he just started saying, man, that just creates some problems for some people. We would go to like passing things, 7-on-7 in the summer or these little team camps, and just torch people in empty because they didn't practice. When they didn't practice, we had them. And what that taught me was people were going to have to practice. It was going to take a ton of work to get this right. And so it just created a matchup problem. The other thing I liked was I don't believe in a ton of calls. I don't believe in a ton of stuff being difficult. And if you do, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I like things being one word. I like people not having to make a bunch of calls. I didn't like our linemen making a bunch of calls. I didn't like the wideouts making a bunch of calls. We just, shit, it is what it is, man. If they're a receiver in the corners, he's going to be up or back. I mean, it ain't that damn hard. Just play both of them. Just be ready for both. If you're a tight end, you're going to be covered inside or outside. I mean, it is what it is. Don't make that harder than it has to be. Don't try to, be perfect where the defense is. So when you get in a formation with 5 receivers, there ain't but so many things they can do. And last year, we went 10-0 in the regular season, had a great year, and we saw a 3-2 box, 4 across, 9 out of 10 regular season games. And you'll see it on the film. So, at least 3 or 4 of those teams didn't even run that defense. But they didn't have a way to defend the verticals and to play the edge and to play the box, and if I was them, I would have run that same defense. So, kudos to them for figuring that out. But it made it very simple. Outside backer, he was either on the line or he was back. You know, corners were up or back, 2 safeties or 1. You know, it was about 2 things, just work all of them. It really simplified the defense. They got to come up with stuff for the week. You work it all the time. They work it 1 week. Another thing that now people say all the time that used to be a good buzzword when I said it. And then make them defend the whole field, which we already talked about. All right, so these were the 2 questions I get the most in this, offensively related. You know, we don't have those athletes, Coach. Well, I don't know anybody that is familiar with Pickens County, Georgia, would not ever start a sentence with "we didn't have the athletes that y'all had." We're in the mountains of North Georgia, very average, good boys, and we have had a few players here and there that worked hard and made themselves good players. But I found that some of these players look a lot better than they really were because they played fast. We gave them very few things to do, and we tried to line up in positions where the defense didn't know what to hit. I think it's important in anything that you're doing to know what the weaknesses are. What is not work? What is the weakness of this? And the real weakness, if you want to know it, is that you got to be able to run inside anyway. I ain't bullshitting. I mean, that's not something that I think if you're a half decent football coach, you've already figured that out. But if you're in 5 receivers, you got the quarterback in the backfield, you have to run inside. Okay, you can't run 40, 50, 80% of the plays in this formation and not be able to run inside a little. How do you combat that? The quarterback's got to be able to get 4 yards versus a favorable box, which in my opinion, nowadays, most every one of them can. Most people aren't playing these quarterbacks from back in the day that were just out there, just handing off every play. Most people are playing some of the better kids at quarterback. And even if they're a taller kid that's not a great runner, they can get 4 or 5 yards. If they get that 3-2 box and the ends widen out, they can get in there and get 4 or 5 yards. And then the buck sweep especially, which we're going to talk about next time, has to be a good play because it's a physical play and it can cut back and it can do all these things that allow you to be physical and run inside and still have 5 receivers. If you can't do that, then it's a little more of a gimmick. If you can't do that, then I wouldn't advise you doing a bunch of this. It needs to be a package for it. There's nothing wrong with this being a package, even if your quarterback can't run a lick. But he needs to be able to get probably 4 to 5 yards in order to do that. All right, so this is our playlist, essentially. Formations, plays. This is what I'm going to go over for the next 10 times I do this. We'll record all of them. So if you're not listening, if you're live now and you're not live next time, whatever, you'll get the recording. But this is the scheme list. This is what we're working on this section, which is basically this top part. All these alignments, about half of it is in this session, where I'm just going to show you how we called formations, how we move people around, and how we got shifts and tempos. So is there any questions, Bo? I know there is, but I can't see the chat. So ask me some of the questions before I go to the next.
Yeah, there is a question. I'm trying to make sure Matt can hear you. He's saying on his computer, I think he's muted, but the question is, can you motion the back and run inside with the back? You're talking about combating.
Yeah, absolutely. We run inside zone. Yeah, absolutely. Zorro and Zulu, inside zone. We're going to have a back in the backfield, and you'll see that when we get into formations. But we started in empty. That's what made it unique. We were going to play empty until you made us do something different. And I think most people do the opposite. You're going to run the I, or they're going to run 10 personnel or 11 personnel, and then they're going to get out of it as the changeup. We did it kind of the opposite. And so, yeah, you'll see we're going to have some inside zone and some power and counter and all that stuff. Anybody else have a question about that?
That's the only question right now.
This is what we looked at for personnel. I'm not going to go through this much because we got a whole session on this in 5 or 6 sessions from now about what we're asking our quarterbacks to do, our running backs, our receivers, our tight ends, and our linemen. I just thought this was a good chart to throw in there for kind of what were the non-negotiables of sort. If you were asking me, what does this person have to have? These are them. Since everybody has access to this, I'm not going to read it to you because I think you'll enjoy this more as you get into the formations. So here's the formations. We use these 6 well, it's really 12 formations, but 6 formations right and left to kind of call everything. So we started here. Brown and black, Frank and Phil, just the R and the L word. Brown was strength right, black strength left, Frank, Phil, green, gold is bunch. Red and blue had a tight end in. Rifle Lightning tight end in, same as there. So imagine if that Y, can y'all see my cursor? If that Y goes there, then that's there. If that Y goes there, then that's there. Here, yellow and orange, which were opposite, had O's in them, the Z went opposite. So it was like red, but Z opposite. Like yellow, blue, but Z opposite. So you got twins, you got tight end trips, tight end H trips here, H trips, regular trips, bunch trips. You know, and that's about what you're going to get. So what we would then do is we would have to decide basically based on what we had, if we needed to take this guy, this Y, and this Y, and make them two different people. You know, because if you got a tight end that can't go out there and line up, then maybe when we go brown and black, this guy's in the game, and when we go, you know, red and blue, this guy's in the game. You know, I mean, that's not an issue. Ideally, these are two running backs, this R and L. Did we ever put one of them be a stud and one of them be more of an H back? Absolutely. Absolutely. I preferred not. It works a hell of a lot better when it's two running backs, even if they're not two equals, but two people that can tote the ball. But, you know, whatever. We found that for us in Georgia, we're a 4A school, which is right in the middle of the classifications, and we were average personnel probably. Not horrible, but not great. That for us, if we had a good running back, we didn't have many great running backs. We did have one. But if we had a kid that played right here, that was probably one of our best players. We needed him to catch the ball. We needed him to block. We needed him to run. In high school ball for us, I don't believe in some of that talk where, well, if they're a good runner, they're not a good blocker, and some of that's you allowing that. The kids who are the best runners are probably the best blockers. They're the best athletes. They're the best at everything. So we put them down there and made them block like H-backs sometimes. Now, we didn't run a ton of power where they kicked out a defensive end. We ran power read where we read that guy, and they arced to the backer. But this R&L kind of needs to be a player because you move them around and create more formations. Basically, in these 12 formations, these 6 formations, right and left, we could run about 100 formations. So the people who are watching that have played us can verify that. One of the things they always ask me about was how we ran so many formations. Well, this is how the kids learn these 6 things, and then we just added a tag to it to move somebody, and I just wasn't scared to call it. I mean, that's the real answer. I think a lot of people have a lot of stuff in, they just don't call it. You know, we were going to call all this stuff. You're going to see all 6 of these every game. So you're going to see all 6 of these every game. And we're going to see how you line up, and based on how you lined up or if we liked it or whatever, we'll call some more of them. But those were the base things. So I'm going to see here. So this is brown and black. We'll go through all of them, just let it play and talk about a minute. I just made I grabbed 2 or 3 clips of each one. So this is brown. If you can see wings on both sides, we're going to power read there. We talk about plays later. So if you got a question about a play, we'll talk about it later. But I'll show you that again as far as the alignment. You know, we got both wings, Z, 2 receivers, quarterback. These guys are in tight. Remember, these wings could either be in tight or they could be out wide. That'd be Frank and Phil. So put them in tight, call power read. He goes in motion. We read the end there. We're probably reading the backer, actually. And we go on to score. Same thing, you see the 2 wings. Ask me, put in the chat any alignment questions you got or anything like that. I don't really want to talk about the plays right now, but if you want to know about where they line up, that's fine. Same thing here. This is black, but same because Z's left. 2 wings. We're sending motion, throwing this inside go. Also thought this was good for me to show these to y'all. So if you're kind of new to what I'm doing, you get a feel for what we're doing. That's just sweet. At the same formation. And you kind of get a feel for what the offense looks like. So we're going to run both ways. See a straight 50 like we saw every week. Blocked on, pulled the guards. A great cameraman there. That must have been both. Same thing there. That's quarterback counter, touchdown. So that's brown and black. Now, if we go Frank and Phil, let me get this one, and then I'll answer their questions, Coach, because it's essentially the same formation, just widening the wings. Now here we're in more of a traditional empty. That's what we call Frank and Phil. Frank was right, Phil was left. All right, so what's different? Only thing is this guy that was lined up here moved out there, and this guy was here lined up there. No, I mean, they run the exact same rules. They block the same guy. They run the same play. We called power read like we did a minute ago. This guy'd go in motion. We give it, read the, same stuff. Why do you need both of those? When you bring these wings down, that creates a little more physical formation, and this guy usually comes down. When you put them out here, you get both. You get both, and sometimes it just creates a better look. If this guy were to come down, we throw the ball probably. If he stays back, and he stays back, now we got a 3-2 box. It's probably a little better running formation. That's just a screen. One of our basic plays, a screen both sides. Quarterback can run it. Let's see. Here's another one. Empty left, jet sweep action, quarterback counter. Basically, every play is going to have motion one way or the other, or we're going to catch it and throw it vertical or horizontal. That's just quarterback sweep. All right. This is more your traditional empty play where we just got number 3 random verticals here. You got 3 down the middle. Then he's got to go cover 3. If you know about defense, that's a typical problem for empty. So if you get the split safeties, that's always a good play. What questions do we have, Bo, for those?
We got about 3 or 4 questions lined up.
Ask
First question is, do we flip the O-line based on the formation, or do they generally stay in the same position right and left?
We have not flipped the O-line, but I do not think that's a horrible idea. I mean, I think if you flip the line, you need to flip the running backs. Let's put it that way. Your better running back should be opposite the better lineman. If you're going to run, your better running back's right, the right side running back. And I didn't flip the running backs much because I let them play both sides. We'll get to that later. But I mean, once they went in the game as the right side, they stayed right till we pulled them out. I didn't, because the reason for that was people, if you put them on the strength every time, then they said they can set the defense that way. But if I was going to flip them, I'd flip all of them. Like I'd flip the right tackle and the right guard on a play would be with my left running back, be my better guy, because you're going to run a sweep way and stuff like that. But we didn't flip the lineman. We really probably rarely had like a significantly better side than the other. We just really didn't for whatever reason. We either had a bunch of bad ones or this particular year we had a bunch of good ones. And so we just didn't feel like we had to do that. But I don't think that's a horrible idea if somebody wanted to. What else you got?
Well, let's stick with the O-line. Another question is, do your line splits change based on formation?
Yes and no. Ideally, we would love for them to change. If it was an even front, they could widen out a little bit, and do smart splits. If you know about Tony DeMayo and people like that, we tried to start there and widen out. If they were covered outside, they could widen out. If they were covered inside, they could choke down. We just saw so much odd that usually it gets odd. We stayed 3-foot splits across the board. And so I'll be honest, most of this film you should see hopefully a lot of 3-foot splits. So I think there's nothing wrong with doing that. Sometimes if you widen it out too much, it can hurt the jet sweep too. Something to keep in mind. If that's your base play, then, making them go further out can hurt you. What else we got?
And then when you're calling the plays, what are you using to determine your right or left call, Frank versus Phil or Brown versus Black?
Usually that's a great question. And we're going to have a whole session on game plan and scouting too, and I'll go more in depth on this. But I always put the formation to the field unless I did it on purpose to the boundary, meaning probably 80 to 85% of the time the formation will be to the field. So this thing y'all are looking at now, the ball's on the left hash, we put the bunch trips into the boundary. So this is bunch trips. But a lot of times we would have run Frank here or we would have run Brown. Does that make sense, Coach? It'd be Frank or Brown usually because we wanted to spread the whole field. And we want to put that Z on the other half. Now, does that mean we wouldn't occasionally put a bunch of people into the boundary? And no. We always had a plan to put the formation into the boundary and see how they lined up. We did it every game. But the general rule would be when I saw the ball was on the left hash, I said an R word. When I saw the ball was on the right hash, I said an L word, usually. What else you got?
Last question is what are the base alignments for the wide receivers in most of these formations?
Good question. The receivers ideally would be on the numbers. Probably should go to the last slide. Let's see if I can find another one of these. All right, this is about right. So see how we're on the left hash, and we put the formation to the field. That Z should be on the hash. Numbers, split the difference. That's the normal rule. Now, will we let them cheat their alignment to make the play? Absolutely. But the base plan, spring football, numbers, if we're in the middle of the field, then we'd put two guys on the hash, but ball's usually on the hash. Something we'll talk about when we get to practice planning is don't be one of these guys that plays every play in the middle of the field at practice. Most of the game is on the hash. Put the ball on the hash, teach your kids how to line up there. So the base rules would be numbers for these outside guys. Sometimes into the boundary like this, he may have to come a little outside the numbers, obviously. But we wanted to give him some room to run an out, to run a comeback, to run a vertical. So I didn't mind it being kind of tight right here, like some people do. I didn't mind that. We kind of use that like a bunch set sometimes. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, so then next formation was green and gold. This is our bunch set. So in a bunch set, I didn't always put them to the boundary, but more so, it was more than the 20% I said before. This was probably 50-50, whether the formation was into the boundary or to the field. So this is gold because we got these guys who say, well, Coach, how do they know how to line up? If it's a color, if you're trying to really learn this, check this out. If it's a color, then these dudes are always wingbacks in tight. So red, blue, brown, black, green, gold. If it's not a color, they widen out. This guy choked down. That's the outside receiver that just choked down with the other receiver. So this is just like Phil or Black. It's just these guys came down tighter. They run the same plays, the same rules. We didn't make it any new play, And so then you just get a different look. So now we're sending motion. This is our keep pass. We ran keep post wheel. Bunch left. Now we're bunches to the field. We got no-mo, so we're sprinting out. Like I said, if we go no-mo, we're going to attack vertically or horizontal every time. That's just a jet, like that's to the bunch. We just outflanked them. Everybody's not muted. Go ahead and mute if you're not muted. Here's something. We're going to send this guy in motion, run jet sweep there probably. Just kind of end up capturing and run to the edge. Anybody have a bunch question?
Here, I think we got one question. Yeah, so good question. Does motion always come from the wing?
Yes, unless we have about 2 or 3 plays. We'll bring that Z in motion. We're going to get to those, but usually one of those 2 running backs. And remember they're not always wings. We're going to put them in the backfield. You'll see some of that in a minute. But yes, those are our main motion guys. Now, if we go to red and blue, now we're talking about a tight end. So this is Brown with the tight end. So that's the Z now, who's off the ball. The tight end was over there outside. Now he's down as a tight end, and everybody else is the same as Brown. Now we hard counting. What's the? It's just buck sweep left. You thought we had some good players. Look, we get walked down here. Let's see. This number 7 was good, so we hard counted. We called away from him. We'll get to this. This is a few years ago, but I remember this. He rolled down. They had played too high. They rolled one. They rolled this way. They ran buck the other way. Good play. One of the beauties of having those 2 wing backs, somebody asked about the 2 wing backs. The beauty of that is them going in motion is within reason you can call every play without having to change. Okay. All right. This time we sent motion, running verticals. Sent motion, throwing the vertical. Making people defend side to side and vertical. That's the key for this stuff. Same thing here, buck sweep. We got tight end right. It's red. They set the defense that way. Run buck sweep. This is quarterback counter. Same thing. We got any more questions about that, Bo? Any questions about red and blue or a tight end set?
No.
All right. I did great. All right. So this formation, rifle and lightning, is the 5th of the 6 main formations. Now, this is the same as Frank and Phil, except the time. So this is lightning. So this is like Phil. I mean, that guy was the Y. He was out there. We had 3 receivers. Now, we brought him down there, and they widened out to have your numbers to spread the field. And now we got a tight end there with 2 running backs. So you're understanding the concept of the offense, which we're going to get into in a minute. Keep in mind, any of these guys can move to the back. So we might move him to the backfield for a play or him, and that creates a new formation. Or we may send him in motion or him in motion, or we may send nobody in motion. And in all cases, we're going to throw it out here, throw it out there, throw it down there, throw it out here. You know, and so you got to play people across. If they play us like this, we usually got a pretty good record. I mean, they're trying to play like a 3 over there and get the corner in, but we practice that. All right, same thing here. This is sprint out. All right, now we got motion. So we're in that same set, motion, run the jet. And we're going to talk about these plays, guys. But what I wanted you to see, especially for some people that weren't familiar, they just heard empty, I wanted them to see what this looked like. So I tried to put a few extra examples in every play just for you to get a visual of what things are kind of looking like. We got any questions there, Bo?
Yeah. One of the coaches is wondering what our snap count is and how do we work on motion timing.
All right, let's talk about both of those later because they're in here. You know, like we'll get there, I promise, Coach. But we got motion period and we got a tempo period where we'll talk about that. All right, so orange and yellow. This is now twins. So you can kind of see here. Now this is the same as red or blue. So in this case, same as blue. But instead of the receiver being out here, the Z off the line, he goes over here to create twins. There's our 2 running backs and the quarterback. So we run buck sweep into the boundary a lot out of this. Fake the buck sweep there, throw the vertical. Bad read by the quarterback. All right, this time we're running the buck sweep into the boundary. Same thing. Got twins to the field, tight end, wing to the boundary. We can go both ways here. We can go buck sweep either way. Went into the boundary. This quarterback counter, I guess, yeah. Anybody got any questions about that? All right. So the next thing, and I think you'll like this if you hadn't followed where I was going with all this, or you're thinking, man, can't be too hard to stop them 6 formations. This is where it gets a little more interesting. So if you can learn those 6 formations and you can understand these, 7 or 8 things, then you end up with 100 combinations. You know, if you understand how you get combinations, you know, if you have 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, you have that many combinations when you have 5 different things. So we got probably close to 100 combinations with those 12 formations plus these words, maybe even a little bit more than that. So what we'll do is tag something to it. So if we say, you know, brown R, then R goes to the backfield. If we say brown L, then the L goes to the backfield. If we say brown rip, then the R goes to the backfield and the L goes in motion no matter what, even if play didn't call for it. Liz, same thing. B means both go to the backfield. So brown B, brown, both in the backfield. Brown O, brown, X over. Brown cruise, we're going to get to quads, and we'll see about that in just a second. And if I went fast on that, remember, you got this, and I'm about to show you some stuff. So this is the R tag. So you look at the 12 formations you got here. So that's brown R, black R, Frank R, Phil R, green R, gold R. You know, all you're doing is taking that right guy and moving him to the backfield. And what we would do is, if the play called for motion, so say we're running that power replay that you saw, or jet sweep, and they knew they had to go in motion, because we don't tell them to go in motion. We'll get to that later. They just know they got to go in motion to run the play. So if we were running jet sweep left out of brown, this guy goes in motion. If we're running jet sweep left out of brown R, then he doesn't go in motion. That's just common sense. But that's how we got it. So we could be in this formation, and now we can still run sweep right or left. We just got it back in the backfield, so we could run some of the inside plays, which is what I know somebody asked about before. So here's some of the examples of plays where we had a back in the backfield, which, to be honest with you guys, it was a lot. I mean, we probably have back in the backfield close to half the time in some capacity, but we start in the end. So now we got a back in the backfield. But here's something to keep in mind. All right. So the back's here. So you may say, well, dang, coach, now they know you're running buck sweep left. Not necessarily, because we will run this guy in motion back this way. This is just semantics. Sometimes you run so few plays, what you'll find is you want to run, for us at buck sweep, we want to run sweep, and maybe we get in our little brown or black or whatever. It's just not working. But we put it back in the backfield, and all of a sudden it works. Or we put it back in the backfield and run it with the other guy that's not in the backfield, and it all of a sudden works. And I'd be lying if I told you I even knew why. Sometimes it's just something they know. You know, they're kind of keyed into a certain thing, and when you move these guys around and you run the exact same play, it all of a sudden works. So sometimes this won't work, but bunching the trips up, moving this guy down and this guy down, now it worked. But we always thought of stuff like that before we got to play. So I'll let this run and try not to get on a rant there. But I hope y'all can see that we're playing a lot of different tempos, like we're playing slow and fast. So here's the back there on the right. He's faking, no motion, and then we get inside go. All right, the back's right. Sweep left, no motion. Because sometimes they're sitting there waiting for you to go in motion. So you understand, like one of our better plays, one of our better plays out of a set like this is good because we can go, this guy can come in motion full speed and we get the extra blocker on the sweep, or we can go back this way. So they got to respect the whole field. You see what they're doing here. Talk about defense another time, but they got 4 across, and they're playing 2 guys here to help set an edge. You know, we kind of got them here. We kind of got them however we call it. Anybody got a question for this, Bo, for any of these tags? L's the same thing, just opposite. So you look at these L's, you can look at these. If you got a question, go on and ask. These L's will be the same thing. Now we just moved the left wing to the backfield. Did the same thing. And creates just a different look. So now we got the left wing in the backfield here. This would be like red L. We're throwing the pop off. That's buck sweep actually, but we're throwing the pop. We'll get to the sweep next time. This is red L. Just running the sweep with no motion. Sometimes with no motion, it's a good play. And then sometimes with no motion, it's not a great play because you kind of declare where the better kid is and you got to do something different. So like here, I put this play on here on purpose because we try to about half the time do the opposite. So they were setting the defense away from the back here. So, you know, we got a pretty heavy group up here ready for this sweep up top. Probably should have thrown down here. But what we come back with is just something the other way. So that's a quarterback read play, but, you know, we got motion back this way. Just interrupt me if anybody's got a question.
Yeah, we got one question. So the question is, did we ever have like a L or R tag that came late?
Absolutely.
Where the wing would line up originally, I guess.
Absolutely.
H back and then motion to the backfield.
Because if you had that signal, I mean, absolutely. At least 10 times a game. You know, one way that, you know, you call it and then you're just hollering out there, hey, L, and the kid just kind of backs up. And, you know, I mean, it happens all the time. I don't know if 10 times a game is fair, but probably 5. And that shouldn't matter if you teach it like it's all the same play. So what we did was we taught our plays to the running backs. I don't want to get off in a rabbit hole here because I know we got a lot to cover. But we'll get to the running back play one time and I'll be more in detail. But we taught our running backs how to play out here as a receiver, back there in the backfield, and at a wing back on the same play. So if we called sweep right, they should have been able to block it from all 3 of those spots. So if I had to tell them to widen out, or if I had to tell them to go to the backfield, like sure we did. Sometimes when we hard counted, you know, we might hard count and then change the backfield. You know, we totally could do that. You know, we hard counted them and then we wanted to run inside zone and we didn't have a back in the backfield, so backed it up or something like that. I loved inside zone this one. I just Rip and Liz set because I could I love this Rip and Liz set because then what I did was this tagged motion no matter what. And I hope that doesn't confuse you because most of our plays were built in motion or no motion. But if we said rip something, then we ran a play we normally ran with no motion with motion, and you got the back in the backfield. So if we said rip, that's an R. The R goes to the backfield, just like on R tag. But the rip part meant R's in the backfield and the other wing goes in motion. Liz, L's in the backfield, other wing goes in motion. And you say, why would you want that? Well, what if we ran like jet sweep right? So this guy's going to go in motion, jet sweep. He's going to go in motion. He's running jet sweep right. So now we got the cross action that you get a lot. We want to run buck sweep. You know, we want to run R in motion, buck sweep right. You know, that's a good play. If we normally call buck sweep right, that didn't call for him to go in motion. It called for him to go in motion. So it made that switch. I hope this is making sense because this is an important part of it. You got to have plays where the motion rules lie, and this are kind of them. Now, these are going to be some inside zone examples. I think a couple of these are. So I just pulled 2 or 3 plays that were good plays. I didn't really pay much. But so here we got most. So think about right here, the defense, I can all but guarantee you, is assuming we're running sweep that way like y'all have seen 100 of already. So we've sent this guy in motion to run inside zone. And the inside zone was a good play for us because we run inside zone with a quarterback and empty, and then we put it in there. So we only had a few blocking schemes, but we ran inside zone, counter, power read, buck sweep. That's about it. Pass pro. But we would get in this formation a lot and send this guy in motion and run the sweep. You see, we kind of got him there. So that was a good play. And that's actually a pretty good football team. Might not like it on that play. They were. Now we got trips left. This would be feel, rip. Same thing. Feel, rip. So the R came in the backfield. Slide in. Any question about Rip or Liz? All right, so if we go B for both, you know, this is some high-level stuff, guys. Some of y'all question your purchase now, some of these simple words. But if we go B, now both backs are in the backfield. Same thing, so it's Brown, just like it was before. Brown was just twins open, but both backs are in the backfield. Red B, green B, whatever. Why would we put both backs in the backfield? Mix it up. Mix it up, you know. Couldn't go in motion either way. If team was cheating in motion, now you got action both ways without him going motion. This is waggle. See, this team in particular did a pretty good job against us going in motion, if I remember right. So we put both backs here so we could run sweep right and left without sending anybody in motion. And I could pick based on the personnel. See, this is the other reason you run this formation. With these two guys in the backfield, notice both these outside backers are off. If we bring them up and put them at wing backs, both of them come up on the line. And so sometimes, depending on what you want, that's just a better angle for you to make these blocks. So, like, we're able to capture right there. That wasn't even a great block by him, but it was just a good flank. And that's a really good football team there. You play hard. Our read, I guess. Same thing here, but we went bunch. So if you look here, we got bunch, but instead of the wing being out there to create the bunch trips, it's B. So both backs are in the backfield, and we just running the sweep into the boundary, into the trip side. All right, if we go O, you got any questions, bud?
Yeah, well, and it actually pertains to before, not B so much, but
that's all right.
When we have motion, what determines or how do the kids know the path of the motion? Like for example, you know, how do they know when to go in jet motion versus that Rip and Liz motion? I mean, how do they know that?
They always go in that jet motion, except when it's Rip and Liz. And the only reason we would tell them sometimes in Rip and Liz to move up a little bit, if you notice, that's what I guess Coach noticed that. If the guy's a little further up, that's just so we didn't have a train wreck. If we ran buck sweep or something that came the other direction, we needed them not to have a train wreck right there. And for the defense, we felt like that didn't really hurt us because you can see it on film from the press box, but you can't really see it when you're playing linebacker if that guy's there or not. So. Or we didn't have an issue with that. But that's a good question. They always ran jet motion. They always ran jet motion unless it was some unique thing told them not to. So sometimes on that Rip and Liz thing, we told them, hey, make sure you're a little bit further up. Don't have a train wreck. Sometimes Darwinism took over there, and in practice, two guys ran into each other, and they learned their damn lesson. That usually happens. If we added O to the formation, the X went over. So this is Brown, X over. Frank, X over. Red, X over. Now, we put the back in the backfield, but you don't have to. I'm not going to lie and say we always do. Some years we did, some we didn't. But I like putting the back in the backfield too. So, like, the X goes over and the L goes back, or here the X goes over and the R goes back. Because I thought if there's a guy in the backfield, we had a little better chance of more options over here to run the ball inside and do some stuff. But these are one of the times, like Coach asked, did we change the backfield? So say we called Black O and told the running back to stay wings. So we got 2 wings. Black O, hard count them. I could totally holler R, and the R knew to come back, or we could signal it, or whatever. But this is a dirty set for us. We had a lot of mileage out of this. This whole deal, every one of these O tags was a lot of yards. Because you got to remember, you say, well, what's bad about unbalanced? I'll tell you what's bad about unbalanced in general. You set the defense for them. You set the defense for them. They know this is the strength. The beauty of what we were doing was we'll put the formation over here and still run this right wing over here on jet sweep if they overplayed it. And our kids were used to running that, like you saw. So we had a really good play back into that nub side. And so that made it a good play for us. All right, you can kind of see here. Let's see. Well, this was actually one I didn't mean for this to be first, but all right. So that guy's covered up. This is like Black O, but they look what they've done over here. We've run this a few times in the game. They've got nobody over here, so we come back this way, we capture, get some yards. So we're running into the nub side there. Here, we're throwing a screen. They did played it more straight up, threw a screen. Here we got trips, but now this is a pretty dirty set. If you're watching this just to get a play or a formation, this might be your formation. You go bunch trips with the guy over there, they ain't got an answer for a run. Nobody does. They just got to whip you. Because when you take the corner and make him have to cover him, it's hard to play bunch trips without that corner and play the run. You almost got to really cheat over, or you got to play it straight up like this, and we got you. So this is a good formation now. This will be gold O for us. So we go gold O, jello, or jet left. Anybody got any question about that set? All right, this is one of my favorite ones, and this is the last one of these tags. If we go cruise, what we called cruise, it was a tempo and it was a formation. Basically, it's quads. If I say cruise, that creates quads. We take the wing back on one side and put him out wide on the other. But what we did was when we combined these with a tempo, so this guy now goes in motion. So what he's going to do is the left wing is going to go in motion and hard count. If they jump, they jump. If they don't jump, he just keeps on going out here and lines up as a receiver. And you see the formations you get by him doing that. So I think I got the whole plays on here so you can see the whole thing develop. So here we're in, this is green cruise. So we sent motion. They hard count, they didn't jump. So he just keeps on going, and then we're just setting the play. We run a mesh here, like it's a third down, I think. And we just outran him. All coaching right there. So what this did was instead of me calling quads, I had to call a hard count. And I like that because it made me do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to. You just call quads and make them line up out there. Nothing wrong with that either. All right. So here we're in brown, cruise, hard count. I didn't put the ones in where they jump, but they jump a lot. So these are plays where they didn't jump. We go line up out here. Now what could we do here? Now this was, if I remember right, this was probably 3rd and short or something. But we really should have thrown a screen or something out here because they didn't really adjust. We just throw a screen out here. It was probably 3rd and 1, and I may have done that just to hard count and see if they jump. And then we just ran quarterback ISO or something to get the first down. So I really like this formation in any 3rd or 4th down, 3rd and long or 3rd and short, because we hard count, gave me time to call the play, and then I liked them having to adjust to the quad set out of that. All right, so now this guy's coming. You can see he's coming. I guess we already did this. I missed it. But we throw the screen. So We got any questions about the quad set or cruising? Bo's gone.
I had to get charged.
We got any questions, Bo?
No.
Now, I put this slide in here vague on purpose. We got in double tight and called that Ted and run that some. And you could go Ted R, Ted L, Ted whatever, Ted Cruz. You know, the politician. That was good. But all the same kinds of. But I think this is an important slide if you want to run some of this. You make up your own set. Run what you need to run to make that work. So this is a slide. If I was trying to run some of this, I'd fill in myself based on our team's needs. All right, so tempos. Anybody got another formation question before we go to tempo?
No.
Tempos, meaning how are we going to move the tempo? Slow it down, speed it up, whatever. I used to be a huge guy for NASCAR tempo or playing fast stuff. I got away from that, and we kind of just ran our regular tempo because our regular tempo meant we went as fast as I called the plays. And I practiced it that way. So if I called the play really fast, we ran the play really fast. If I waited, we waited. If I hard counted, we hard counted. But the regular tempo is they always sprint to the line, be ready to play fast. But I started purposely calling the play slower sometimes. And the kids, it didn't mess us up. What I love this tempo, how we did it, because it was on me. It was on me. And I'm going to talk about the snap count in just a second because I know somebody asked that. So our regular tempo was we're not in the huddle. We're signaling. And we wanted to be able to wear folks down by playing fast, and we wanted to be able to slow it down if we needed to. I told you last year when we went undefeated, we beat a team in the region championship game that was better than us, had 7 or 8 college football players. And we probably ran – I mean, took forever to run a play. And the rest of the year we ran them as fast as we could. And it didn't change our kids' ability to run the plays, because what I've seen is when you try to get into a 4-minute offense mode or you try to tell the kids to do something different, that's when they mess up and don't execute. So we want it to be just regular. However, whenever I call the play, run it. So if ball carrier runs 10 yards, gets tackled, and I immediately am hollering for a new play, and that's code for NASCAR, if you know what the old terms for that. If I'm just kind of standing there looking at my call sheet and they need to line up in the formation, we said green, for example, they need to line up in green, and if I'm just standing there, then we just need to wait. I know that sounds real simple, but that helped. That really helped us. They need to sprint to the line and get the formation. I did like calling the formation fast. So right when the play's over, we're calling the formation. And then I might call the formation and the play. So I might have said green bear, let's go. And they're running. I might have said green and just stop. Kids figure it out. We didn't have to talk about it. They just play. And so our 4-minute offense became me. I was doing that, mixing it in during the game anyway, so I just start doing it every play. You know, they don't know the difference. They just playing ball. How did the procedures for this go? We signaled to the backs, and with the skill guys and the linemen. You could conceivably have backs, receivers, and linemen. It's up to you. But you got to have a couple signalers. I wouldn't advise one signaler. That's a little too easy. Quarterback is responsible for the cadence. So this will answer Coach's question about the cadence. Here's how we did it every play. We lined up. We gave a ready call. Quarterback would say, ready. And all that did was just tell the lineman we're going on first down. We used to go on first down only, and sometimes the defense would make a call and we jump. If we gave that ready call, it seemed to help. So we'd be like, ready, send a motion, if necessary, snap the ball. Whose fault is it if it didn't time up right? Always the quarterback's. This is something I learned from the wing. When I was learning the wing tee, ran all this stuff. Tubby Raymond, Denny Crehan, all of them. They had all these cadences like ready, red, set, go, and go. And I don't know. It was all weird. But on some of them, the running backs had to know what word to go on. And on other ones, the quarterback had to go. And it always was confusing to the kids, and it was confusing to me when I was teaching it. So we always make it on the quarterback. It's the quarterback's responsibility to know to time that up. And how do you say, Coach, how do y'all do it? We just do a billion of them. I don't know. To be honest with you, we didn't have any great coaching points on it. We just told them Make it work. The quarterback's fault. So if the guy missed the handoff, quarterback should have snapped it early. If the quarterback's sitting there sitting the ball down, waiting for the back to cross, he snapped it too early. The other one he snapped too late. And you just let the quarterback get used to that. And there you go. And if it's an issue, you put the back in the backfield so there's no motion. So if you thought there was an issue, like the other team was yelling something out or they were doing something, just put the back in the backfield and run the same play. That's what I like. That's why you had to learn the formations before you can learn the tempos. I hope that answered Coach's question on that. And how we run the jets, all the sweep motion was the same across the quarterback's face. And we just try to make them all look the same. We just get a million reps of it. I mean, you get reps in individual, but honestly, you get a lot of muscle memory reps on that in team and in your group periods and in your pass scale or whatever. Like, we're just doing that all the time. So the kids actually just kind of get better at it. The general rule, what I would tell like a 9th grade quarterback, is you snap the ball when the kid gets behind the tackle. You know, maybe even a little bit before the tackle if you're worried about that. But that'd be a general rule if you want to start there. These 3 tempos, we didn't run that much, but we had them in. We held a sideline when you run 9 or 10 times a game. But, you know, you're going to be on the sideline, and that's just something when you're a no-huddle team. Some people think that's dumb. Well, of course, yeah, you're on the sideline. Well, if you're a no-huddle team, you don't normally do that. So that's different. So we had to practice 9 or 10, 12 times a game. You're going to be on the sideline calling a play. What would be great is if you could take advantage of that. So we'll get in a huddle on the sideline. I usually let the referee blow to ready for play, and then I call the play. We sprint out, run the play. Why does that matter? Well, I mean, I think it helped not getting the defense lined up. I think it gave us, even if it gave us 1 extra yard, 2 extra yards, if you guys study football, you'll understand and you know that the P and 10 plays sometimes win and lose the game. That first play to possession has a lot to do with if you're going to score on that series or not. It's not the ultimate indicator, but it does have a lot to do with it. So if you can come out and get 4 to 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 yards on the first play, you're going to be rolling. So if you can catch them off guard, sprint to the line, call the play, the note on that is you got to wait for the ref to blow to ready, which now sometimes they don't even do, I guess. They do on that down, I guess. But because, you know, sure enough, I made the mistake before getting all excited and sending them out there, and the ref hadn't blown to ready yet, just sitting there and kind of defeats the purpose of the sideline huddle. If we got in the traditional huddle, which we rarely did, but if we did, then we got in a huddle. You know, my high school coach would be rolling over in his grave if he knew that we got in a huddle and didn't practice it for 10 months like we used to have to do. You know, but everybody just kind of huddled up and we still got to play. And, you know, you break the huddle and go. Why would we do that? Sometimes slow the game down. You know, if you got like kids playing both ways and you just kind of want to do that. Or if you're worried about them stealing signals and there's certain thing you want to get in or something, you can get in a huddle. But we wouldn't get in a huddle much. But we had it in. We could run it. Victory, stuff like that. If we went Bama tempo, that's like roll to play, same play. So if we ran green, buck sweep right, we said right after the play, we're going Bama, Bama, Bama is green, buck sweep right again. Just run it again. That's pretty simple. A lot of people got that, but we practiced it where we did it. Oh, you know, like we were good at getting our butts up, sprinting up, run the same play. Anybody got a question about any of those? We're getting some of these that we run a little more of. If we go hard count, freeze, now we're just going to hard count them. It needs to look like the regular tempo. We need to sprint to the line. Now instead of, you know, green, whatever, buck sweep right, it just be green something that we call for freeze. We just have a word for it. Sometimes we change the word every week because that is something that's easy to steal, something cold, something that starts with an F. I don't know. But we'd have a word. We hard count them, get to the sideline. They jump off sides a lot, but if they don't, it gives you a chance to call the play. And so you get a thing like this where, you know, we hard counted them. They've set the defense into the boundary. This is yellow, L. We run buck sweep right. I mean, that's stealing right there. But if you see this, we could have run this play the other way. So they knew that. So then we were able to go the other way. Most of the time we hard count people is to set the defense. I'm a huge believer in setting the defense, meaning in high school ball, the better players are going to win and lose the game. And so in this, it's a lot more about having numbers, but also who's where. So if this DN, and I remember this guy's really good, then this is a better call away from him. And I mean, we've had games where we've run a freeze tempo nearly every play and ran away from one guy. If there's especially as an outside backer, you can hard count, just run sweep away from him. I mean, it's a great, easy thing to do. When do you do it? Set the defense, slow the pace, try to get them to jump. You can double freeze too. That'll get them every now and then. If you freeze, everybody looks over, call it again. Now the defense knows you're not going to call it again, so you can get them to jump. Call it again. Sometimes they'll jump. If we get like a 4th and 1, we might double freeze and then call timeout and punt, or if we want to punt or whatever it is. 4th and 1, we wouldn't punt. Those people that know. But 4th and 4, maybe. All right, if we go sugar huddle, we get in the sugar huddle. We put people behind. Everybody kind of gets in the real short huddle right behind the line. I like this huddle better than the regular huddle. The quarterback gets in the back of it. He tells them to play. So say it's like green bear. I've just been saying that a lot. So green, bear, ready, break. Everybody turn the sprints. The receivers don't go out wide if they're not there. They stay in tight. And then break it as fast as you can, line up. I just kind of see that there. We breaking it out. We kept the receivers wide there, but we didn't let them get in the sugar huddle. And you just get some yards. That's a good change of pace, good change of tempo, a good short yardage set, and a good red zone thing to kind of mix it up. The note on that is the quarterback's got to be a little more patient. Everybody's got to be in a hurry except the quarterback. He does have to let them get set. You can get a penalty there if you don't. Run and lean. This is kind of like cruise. If you saw what we were doing with cruise, where we would send a guy in motion and hard count. But in this case, they're going right back. So this is Brown run. So right goes in motion, hard count. They don't jump. He just comes right back. So that's just another way to freeze, just another way to freeze with motion, and we didn't have to change the hard count. So you might say to yourself, why do you need that and the cruise? Well, here's why. In this, if we were cruising, when he went in motion, he would just keep on going to create a new formation. Maybe I don't want that. Maybe I just want to still run sweep one way or the other, and I just wanted to go in motion to see if they would jump. Now we reset. We still got sweep both ways. We still got all the quarterback runs, and we got a hard count. Same thing. So he hard counts. They didn't jump. He goes back. Now we're calling the play. All right. Anybody got a question about that, Bo? Any tempos?
Nope.
All right. So a couple more things. In the shifts, we got 7 shifts we run. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'll make up 100 shifts if I felt like it. So for us, a shift is traditionally going to be ending up where the formation tells you to be. So I've said 10 times in the last 10 minutes the word green bear because that'd be a play. So if I said box green bear, zip green bear, trade green bear, hot green bear, somebody's going to line up in the wrong place, and they're going to end up where we would be for green bear. Does that make sense? So if I said, trade, and the tight end would be on the wrong side, and he trade to the correct side. Now, does that make my way right than somebody that does it the opposite? No, not at all. I just wanted to run the play like we always ran it. So if we ran green bear and we were good at it, I just wanted to run green bear with guys lining up in a different area and moving. I just wanted to run green bear with this, with that, whatever, because I knew we know how to run green bear. Sometimes when you move them to another area, in my opinion, in my experience, it created kind of something that outsmarted yourself a little bit because you got this new formation and you almost ran right into them or something. you kind of were, it was basically, it was a guessing game a little more. So here, we were running an unbalanced set a lot back here in this time, in this particular game. So we traded the tight end, and I told them they can move, and we ran sweep that way. You know, so we started in, you know, this would be, you know, a set like they're more familiar with, tight end, wing, whatever. And then the next thing you know, we're heavy over here, unbalanced. So this is what we called east and west if it was unbalanced. So that was what an unbalanced set. Well, it's the same play twice. Sorry about that. But that's trade. If we go box, we're going to send the X from one side of the field to the other. I've done it a couple different ways. Sometimes we hard counted just, you know, for the hell of it, because I like the hard count. So I think this is one of the times we hard counted. That's our X. He was a pretty good player. So we'd run him across the field, and now we let him run a fade on the other corner, you know, and if they jump, they jump. Remember, you guys have access to all this too, so I know I'm skipping some stuff, but part of that's because I'm trying not to keep you all night. But anybody watching this has access to all this video. So there we ran. No, you see that right? All right, so we ran the X across, hard counted him. He goes back out wide. And they didn't really adjust. They kept this nub here, so we got a little better side to run the sweep to. All right, zip, same thing with the Z. So this is nothing different. The Z is going to start on the wrong side. He's going to move to the right side. So this would be like, this would be gold bull is the play here. Gold, but we've zipped gold bull. He's on the wrong side. He motions over to the correct side, run buck sweep. Now, if we had a back in the backfield, we could tell them they could let him go. They didn't have to get steal. Let's see. But what we do is you can see we get that extra blocker. He didn't do much blocking there, but he was extra. Same thing here. Send him in motion, buck sweep. Send him in motion, buck sweep. Just get that extra little run there. That's just a regular old buck sweep there. You know, so you just try to find a new way to run it. See, when we snap the ball there, ideally, see the back copy here. Ideally, when we snap the ball, they're in about the same spots that they would have been if it had been bunched. So if that was a regular bunch, he'd have been right there arcing. So, oh, hold on, I missed one. If we go hot, now I did hot a lot with an 8. So if you don't have, we had 2 wings, you might not do this as much. But when we had more of an H, we stack them a lot, put the H there, and now the quarterback's got to run one side a little more than the wingback. But you could always send motion this way or send him in motion, and now it's just the H doing the same thing. And by running that vertical there, it spread them out. Wasn't great camera work. But we got a wing back here going to the correct side. Now he's the one going to create that green formation. He lined up on the wrong side. Same thing here. See how the this is going to be gold, bunch left. He's on the wrong side on purpose. He's going to motion across to the correct side, but he's normally an inside guy. That's the only difference between this and that zip. Zip would have been him moving. Hot was him moving. Moving across, run that same play, but they didn't cover the outside guy. So, and I can tell you guys, we have run, for example, this play is called Gold Viper. We're going to go through the verticals one day. We have run Gold Viper 800,000 times. And now, because we've sent this guy in motion, we got a different look. But we've run that play a million times, with or without motion. Because we only got so many of them. All right. Slide. If we go slide, now these last few, we start moving multiple people. So it's not as simple as one guy lines up on the wrong side. Maybe now it's two. So if we go slide, we're going to move several people. Here would be like slide, gold, O, yellow, I think. Let's run sweep. But see, we moved two guys. So we started in bunch trips one way, got to bunch trips the other. So we started here. These guys move, get to gold O, where they would normally be in gold O, and we run the play. Charge, be the tight end and the H or running back swapping sides. So you can see them, both of them are moving. They started over here, both move, buck sweep left. Now this one kid was really good, so wasn't coaching for him. But the rest of these boys were good boys. But see, we captured there. That's a good angle, actually. See, I mean, because we went double trade there, I mean, we basically got nobody to block down here. All right, if we go crazy, this is when we let the kids have some fun. I just let them line up wherever the hell they wanted to and told them to go to the formation. So if it was crazy Frank, crazy Green, crazy whatever, they line up wherever the hell they want and just move to that formation. And they love this. You would think something so simple would be a big deal, but they love this. So you can see here, like, the quarterback is lined up out there and the running back was at quarterback. We just let, and it's just green. I think we ran a rocket toss here, that a play we were messing around with. But you get the idea. Kids just lined up wherever they want to and get to that formation. And they love this stuff. We look like we're in the eye there. I don't know, sometimes why are you doing that? Well, why not? We're going to run this play a bunch. If we're on like buck sweep or something, we run it so many times. Let it be something fun for the kids, for God's sake. And the defense might mess it up because you lined up wrong. They might not, but I didn't see any harm in it. Anybody got a question about any of that?
Yeah, couple questions. One question is, can you invert the X and the Y?
Absolutely. We even did some. And if you see some clips, depending on the year, I just kind of grabbed some clips. You'll see some of that. As long as you got the right amount of people on and off the line, it don't matter. I think people need to do stuff for them. I think that's important. That's why I started with that. My starting slide was, make this for you. Don't think like I'm not trying to be one of these guys that says you have to do it this exact way. Make this for you. And I would change it year to year, guys. If I had a Y that was better inverted, that's what I did. Yeah. What else you got, bud?
And then like when we're running trade, are you keying on what the force player does, or if the defense is going to shift in order to run opposite of the force player?
Yeah, the answer is a lot of reasons why. The answer is yes to both of those. It depends on who you're playing. We would try any of those shifts you would do for about 4 different reasons. One would be literally just because. And I know that sounds simple, but, we've run this buck sweep out of green a bunch. Maybe we got some mileage out of it, then it stopped working. Now we shift to it. The next reason you would do it is for personnel, to get away from somebody. We're going to trade them over to get away from this guy and still have our tight end over there, or still have our whatever. The next reason would be to set the force player to see what he's doing. And then finally, you are trying to just see if anybody moves. I mean, sometimes it's just as simple as we moved 2 guys over there and they didn't move a damn person. We probably should just do that until they decide to move somebody. And I think any of those reasons is a good reason to shift. In my opinion, and I can only speak for Georgia and in my area, but we got some pretty good football in Georgia. But people don't do enough of this. I think they practice it and they get in the game and they're scared to call it or something. But I think one of the things that made us a little unique is I wasn't scared to call it. And I hope I don't sound bragging on that. I'm just saying one of the reasons we put the is I genuinely ran all that for all 4 of those reasons. We traded the tight end. We didn't just trade them because, of this one thing that maybe we didn't actually do in the game. We said we were gonna, and we just never got around to it. You've got to put the defense in some spots and do all these things you're saying you're going to do. And for us, the alignments were probably more important than the plays because we needed all these different things to run that same play over and over again. We're just going to run verticals, we're just going to throw a screen or a hitch, run sweep. That's all we're going to do. So for us to do that, we needed to be able to do it with a lot of different smoke and mirrors. Now, do we have anybody else, Bo? Okay. So on the motion, which I know people ask me about the motion. For us, all the motion is built in. So every play is one word, as you see here. These ones that got slashes are right and left plays. Same play, right and left. They either are a motion play or they're not. Say, how do the kids remember it? They memorize it. And here's how I know they memorize it. I used to have a cute system. We used to run the wing T. We call 421, 424, 426. They memorized that too. Made sense to us, made no sense to them. So they like this right and left thing. But they just know if we call Roger or Louie, it's no motion. And if we want a motion, we would say Rip or Liz. If I say Rip Roger, Liz Roger, now we got motion. Vinny's plays over here on the left, that's our sweep and sweep complement play, which is what we're going to get into next time. That's our sweep and sweep complement plays. So if we're talking about the sweep and the sweep complement plays, somebody's got to go in motion and make that play look like a sweeper. The only reason they wouldn't is if they're already in the backfield. And then I got 2 plays down here where you see somebody ask about Z motion. We got 2 plays we run off Z motion that complement each other that go pretty well together. These plays are no-mo, so like I said, for us, we're going to come up to the line. We're going to send one of these 2 guys in motion, or we're not and just going to snap the ball and go. That's it. And the kids kind of knew it going in. These were the plays we didn't motion. These were the plays we did. I didn't send out a list. We just kind of put it in. The kids figured it out. Maybe I had super smart kids, or maybe we just try to make it pretty easy on them and didn't say a whole lot about it. We just kind of told them outside. Does anybody have a question about the motion? Because I think I simplified that, maybe oversimplified it, but it really, once you kind of learn the offense, that just makes sense. The play's either sweep or it's fake and sweep, and those plays got to have motion, or it's not, and we didn't need motion. We good? Now, this is the play glossary, which everybody's got this. If you want to know what some of these words mean and all that, I'm not going to make you read this because everybody's got access to this. I wanted to end with this to say this is where we're going next time. So next time we do this, it'll be this part. The next time it'll be these. The next time it'll be these. The next time it'll be these. So like session 2, session 3, session 4, session 5, session 6 is all this. And then you get into game planning, practice planning, whatever. So I'm going to try to be extremely extensive in the coming weeks with this, or the coming sessions with this. So try to make it that way on purpose so you feel like you get something out of it and actually get into the details of it. Really, this one with alignments was the hardest one to cram everything in. I think the rest of them will have plenty of time to really talk about the small things about it. That's the end of the presentation I had on alignments. There's my email, how you can get a hold of us. If anything was said as you were watching this that you had a question and you're listening and you're not in the live recording right now, you're watching this back and you got a question, send me an email. I'll be glad to answer it best I can. Do we have any other questions, Bo? I'll answer as many as the people want.
No, that's it right now.